Aloha. Today I wanted to do this video in reference to the synthetic ascension and specifically the New Age community, and expand upon where I'm coming from in this whole idea of ascension, addressing the cabal, and all this other stuff that gets promoted out there as forward progress, beating down the Illuminati, beating down the cabal, beating down the globalists from Alex Jones, and really kind of just give an example of how all of these different compartments of this compartmentalized system that like I explained in previous videos, are designed to make you comfortable. Whether, like in the last video I said, if you're comfortable with Oprah, you'll follow whatever she says. If you're comfortable with the mainstream media, Alex Jones, TYT, the New Age community like David Wilcock, David Icke, whoever you're comfortable with is another limitation program when it's backed by a system, because like the mainstream media doesn't give a shit about you. It's all about mind control and conditioning. So you'd have to be completely ignorant to think that the mainstream media is the only system out there that's meant to condition you. That's not to say that every system out there is meant to condition you, but you have to understand that there are a good number of systems out there that are meant to mind control and to condition you into a limited frame of thought, a limited idea of expansion, a limited idea of truth. Take it a step even further, the systems that are out there, or the groups that are out there that are in your face, that have like huge followings and backings and all that stuff, also need to be looked at with a fine-tooth comb from a perspective that is saying, okay, well, what are the limitations here? What are these individuals not talking about? What has this group or this compartment decided to avoid or say is fake and this is real? When you break it down to what these groups say is fake and real, then you start to see that, okay, well, now I can start to see what's really going on here on a deeper layer. Excuse me. David Will, for people who don't know, because I'm going to get into this pretty quickly, because I just want to play a good chunk of this video so you can actually hear the terminology and hear this, what I'm calling the New Age double cross. The New Age double cross is the idea of forward progress, the idea of ascension and truth, but really laced with this toxic density of the next mind control conditioning program. So when you have stuff like ancient aliens, like this individual, David Wilcock, was actually a speaker on ancient aliens, you can see how they're trying to mind control you to think about the alien agenda, the extraterrestrial agenda, the heliocentric model, the demonizing of the indigenous and the aboriginal people by simultaneously trying to use their buildings and their ancient technologies to back up not what they were, but to back up the alien agenda. So David Wilcock, I haven't listened to him in a while, and the last times I have listened to him was because I wanted to see where he was coming from recently and what he was talking about, to see like how he was selling whatever it is that he's selling, because I got a whiff of his bullshit a few years ago. Then he teamed up with a guy named Michael Tellinger and Corey Goode, and Michael Tellinger and Corey Goode were all like on this same kind of circuit, and Michael Tellinger was like kind of out. He was an outsider. Michael Tellinger or Corey Goode calls himself like a whistleblower for the secret space program. David Wilcock is like the Ancient Aliens, New Age, Cabal. Edgar Casey talking about he's the next, or he's like people calling him like he's the reincarnated Edgar Casey. Yeah, all these things that are out there that are just floating around in the New Age community. But to make a long story short, the reason why I came up on this video and I didn't listen to the whole thing, I skipped ahead to after half, because the first half is always like him building himself up, and then he gets to the point of what he's really trying to tell you, or what he's really trying to what he's passionate about, pretty much. So I caught this part of this video, and I wanted to share it with you. Before I get into there, I wanted to how this relates to flat Earth. Is Michael Tellinger actually did a few interviews with David Wilcock, with Corey Goode on David Wilcock's set or scene or whatever website. And I think it was like in October of last year, Michael Tellinger recently came out talking in favor of the flat Earth. So I wanted to see what he had said in reference to the flat Earth in the recent days. I came across this video where Michael Tellinger was at Joshua Tree at this first in the desert, this contact, this get together where these people like David Wilcock speak about whatever it is that they say is important to speak on at Joshua Tree. And I was really looking for Michael Tellinger to say something about flat Earth in the present, in the company of all these people that speak at this conference at Joshua Tree. Couldn't find any videos, but I found David Wilcock, hoping that I would see something. Didn't see the same shit over and over again. So I decided to share it with you guys so you can see at the same time what I'm talking about, and how. Let me readjust this microphone so you can hear it when I play it. So you can see where I'm coming from when I talk about how the New Age program is actually a double cross to make it seem like they're on your team. This is for you, but it's no different than the Alex Jones fight the globalists. Instead of Alex Jones calling them globalists, the New Age community calls them the Illuminati or the Cabal. It's the same thing. David Wilcock calls them reptilians and, globalists or whatever it is. All of these are, in my opinion, controlled oppositions to make you stay within a certain frame of mind that actually prepositions you for the next control grid. One of the main kickers for that is that none of these people, David Wilcock, Alex Jones, Corey Goode, did I say David Wilcock already? Yeah, I probably did. Ancient Aliens, none of these individuals or these compartments of thought actually reference the flat Earth or empowering yourself outside of the system. Everything is based upon politics. Everything is based upon Western civilization and the colonial program. Everything is based upon you being in a powerless position, even though they say the so-called powers that be or the powers that were, like as if things are really changing from how they're saying it. Things are changing, but invisibly. They're changing because people are questioning their reality. And people like David Wilcock, Michael Tellinger, Corey Goode, David Icke, and Alex Jones do share information that is helping people get to a certain point of questioning their reality. That doesn't mean that they have your interest in the utmost of their perspective. That only means that they're out there sharing information. It's up to you to discern what that information is actually meaning on a deeper level. And how I'm seeing this since I've been in and around the circles of the New Age community, in and around the circles of the observation circles of stuff like David Icke. Like I used to listen to David Icke a few years ago, and then started to see the limitations. The same thing with Alex Jones and TYT, studying the mainstream media, studying the alien agenda, the ancient aliens. All this stuff was part of my research. So I'm very aware of how all these programs work and how they've evolved over the last 5, 6, 7 years. The agenda has gotten more tangible. I've seen this because of the way things have changed, and Trump has been this sort of rally point for this controlled opposition to come together with this sort of positive negative talking point, to where they say, well, you know, Trump is a piece of shit, but he's actually challenging the global agenda. So he's creating, you know, waves in the pool, and we have to actually do something with this. And I hadn't really, everybody's kind of been hinting on that around. Obviously, Alex Jones is the main one who's been out there talking about this stuff in like favor of Trump. Joe Rogan is in favor of Trump because he's like the all-American musclehead, you know, red, white, and blue asshole that's talking about, well, we just got to follow what science and politics says. So, you know, if you don't believe in scientism, then you're just a crazy guy. So, anyway, you know how I feel about Joe Rogan. People who watch this channel, and Alex Jones, you know how you feel about Joe Rogan and Alex Jones. What I'm saying is that there's another demographic of people that a lot of people aren't aware of, because a lot of people usually just kind of steer clear of it because it's kind of this other thing. And I still think that's out there like that, and it's called the New Age community. And how I'm seeing the New Age community, just like InfoWars, okay, that's a good way to play. InfoWars, the New Age community is to Alex Jones, or the New Age community is to David Wilcock what InfoWars is to Alex Jones, and vice versa. So David Wilcock, just using him as an example for this video, because he's still out there mouthing off this alien agenda, fighting the Cabal, fighting the Illuminati, putting himself out there as this superhero who's been threatened by the Illuminati, and he's got all these security guards, and everybody should listen to him because his life has been threatened, and so on and so forth. And he's been on Ancient Aliens, so he has all of these layers of credibility. Yet, the story hasn't evolved. The story hasn't expanded. He stays in this little box of, you'll see what I'm talking about when I play this video, because I'm going to start it on one point, and then I'm going to get to the other point, to where he actually voices the words, the alliance-backed candidate. The alliance being this, it's like Sphere being Alliance, which is Corey Goode's secret space program, like crew or something like that. The people who fight against the Cabal or the Illuminati or whatever it is. They call themselves the Alliance. So David Wilcock is taking this Trump position, as in by actually voicing the words, the alliance-backed candidate. When you hear those words, you're automatically seeing that this is, if you can't see that is a max out point, I don't know what else to say. That's basically still believing in politics. It's still believing in the the so-called democratic process, the presidential election or selection process, the Western civilization, the colonial program, the heliocentric model is inherently lumped into that because it's never questioned. Because if you do question that, then you will see that all those other systems and compartments will get blown out of the water. So what I'm saying is these groups like David Icke's following, the TYT following, Alex Jones with the InfoWars following, the mainstream media following, the Russell Brand following. He's the same thing, he ain't no different. Russell Brand and, like I said, David Wilcock in the New Age and Alex Jones in the InfoWars. Well, Russell Brand has the same thing with his truths. It's all about like funneling your thought process into this emotional focus group that says this is what you need to focus on, everything else doesn't matter. Inherent subconsciously they're telling you everything else doesn't matter because they're not speaking on it. So if they don't speak on flat earth, if they don't speak on the agendas that are subconsciously affecting generations of people from the colonial program, from Western civilization, from the race agenda, the white supremacy program, from not talking about flat earth, all of these systems are the same. All of these approaches or lack of approaches are the same. They make you want to believe that this is the only, because it's comfortable, it's safe, it plays on your heartstrings, and you believe whatever is being sold to you because these charismatic or intellectual or emotionally triggering individuals are sharing this giant amount of truth or something that you can relate to, but it's still, instead of like having a little bit of medicine in there, it's a little bit of poison in there, whether they know it or not. That's what I'm saying. Some of these people might not know it. I'm saying in like smaller groups of people who defend people like David Wilcock, who defend Russell Brand, who are defending Alex Jones and Donald Trump and all that stuff. All those people, the little people out there who are defending those people, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about the people who are out there telling people, think like this and don't think about anything else. That shit is dangerous. You should be able to speak about whatever it is that you or think about, and speak about whatever it is. Think about it constantly. Expand your frame of thought. Otherwise, you're just creating another dogma. You're creating another like cult-like following. Like certain groups and factions in the Black conscious community have the same thing. The New Age community could be seen as a cult-like following when you tie in the rally point of the alien agenda and the extraterrestrial saviors of the sphere being alliance, and the alliance group that is teamed up with Donald Trump, who's gonna save the day and fight the globalists. Like, what the fuck, man? This is just, it's ridiculous. And the confirmation of the ridiculousness is that none of the actual histories are being spoken about. None of the boots on the ground information that's working with people today is being spoken about. With like stuff like flat earth, stuff like the race agenda, white supremacy, the war against the indigenous and the aboriginal people. And not to say that it's only about that. It's now against the entire human race. But to say that none of these stories are being addressed, because if you address those, it takes away, honestly, it takes away from the alien agenda or the extraterrestrial agenda that they need you to believe in, to believe into their sort of diet cult that's going on. This is a diet cult that is being amplified when you buy into the systems that, are just out there being cool, like, oh, this is anyway. You know what I'm saying. So I wanted to just set that up so you can see where I'm coming from with this whole new age perspective of tying in the alien agenda, and just really talk about how, flat earth is getting closer to the new age community, in a sense that they're eventually going to have to start speaking about it soon, because I didn't actually hear what Michael Tellinger said at Joshua Tree. I don't know how he's approached the whole flat earth and new age relationship, but from what I've seen, it doesn't look like he's said anything. It doesn't look like he's expanded it in any kind of way. It just looks like it's just something that's out there. Otherwise, people like David Wilcock and all these other people would have actually said something, because they're buddy. They're teamed up. They're right next to each other in this In the Desert conference at Joshua Tree that just happened a few weeks ago. So I don't know how that's going down. What I'm saying is that I'm sharing this video now so people who are either in the New Age community or in the Flat Earth community who don't know of either one of the other communities to just expand the storyline to see that this stuff actually exists out there. And this is how I'm seeing what the next agenda will look like, because it's not just people in the New Age community who are being conditioned into the extraterrestrial alien agenda with ancient aliens and all this other stuff. A lot of people in the New Age community don't watch TV anymore, which is a good thing, obviously, but they're heavily vested in the David Wilcock alien extraterrestrial agenda from a deeper layer. It's actually more implanted in the conscious reality rather than the subconscious reality, because they take this on as their reality, this heliocentric alien idea of these extraterrestrials coming to save the world, and all these histories that have been pre-generated, no different than just like modern mainstream religions. So that same conditioning exists in the mainstream program when you have television shows like Destination America, or networks like Destination America with all these Bigfoot shows, these alien abduction shows, the Ancient Aliens on the History Channel. You have all of these various TV shows that are in the mainstream construct that is subconsciously and consciously conditioning people to think and act a certain way. So you have that, then you have the New Age conditioning program, and now I'm saying that it's going to activate sometime soon, and the flat earth will be a part of it in some kind of way. I don't know how yet. What I'm seeing now is that they're just avoiding it because it throws too many monkey wrenches into the whole heliocentric alien agenda extraterrestrial model. And Michael Tellinger has already openly come out with the flat earth and the whole relationship that heliocentrism has with the Illuminati, the Cabal, and all this other stuff. Why David Wilcock hasn't spoken to this, I don't know. My assumption or my idea of why is that because he's part of this whole manipulative next level mind control program, this double cross from the New Age agenda, and they have to send out these people who play your heartstrings to make you believe in whatever it is that they're saying. So listen to how he speaks to you, and listen to how this stuff is being sold to you. And not so much you listen to your kids, like your kids, if you have any kids, that because there's a lot of younger people in the New Age mindset. In fact, I think it's a majority of the New Age community is built up of these like really young sort of I don't use like term like hippie kids or something like that, whatever it is. It's just that kind of demographic. And then you have the older community who's been around this, the older New Age community who's been around for a while. The people in the middle are kind of just like bouncing back and forth, but it's it's largely really young, sort of like hippie kids. This is why Spirit Science came out with the cartoon, so they can get the younger generations to start believing in this alien agenda channeling sort of mentality. And then you have the older generations who's going to get their information from like channelers like Abraham Hicks, Cryon, and Bashar, and people speaking like Greg Braden and David Wilcock and all these, Corey Goode and all these other people. And then over time, the people who are caught up in the middle will just fall into whatever category is comfortable for them. So listen to David Wilcock. I'll kind of try not to speak so much because I know people who are listening to this channel know where I'm coming from anyway. But if something comes up, I'll say something about it. Maybe in the background, I might stop it. I don't know. Anyway, so this is David Wilcock at the In the Desert conference at Joshua Tree only like a few weeks ago.
What is happening now is that the military has turned against the Cabal. Now, the Cabal still has some degree of control over what's going on, but they are losing it very, very rapidly. Oh, wait till we get into this. Yeah, you're going to be clapping a lot.
Hooray!
Okay, let's talk about Trump. Now, I'm not a Trump supporter, but I'm not a Trump hater either. I'm looking at this as an opportunity. I'm looking at this with an open mind. I'll tell you some of the things that I saw. I saw emails of Hillary bragging about how they could sacrifice a chicken to Moloch in the backyard.
Here's your bad guy mentality. So this is what I was saying in a lot of previous videos. The rally point is the villain. So the villain that's out there is, they're using people. Some people are using the Trump as a villain. Some people are using the mainstream media as a villain. Some people are using the Cabal, the Illuminati as the villain, whatever it is. Back in the World War I and II days, it was like Hitler and socialism, communism. That was the villain. The rally point, never looking at the fact that both sides of the war are being played by the same people. It's a two-headed dragon. It's the same shit. Left and right wing, red and blue, Democrats and Republicans, the Germans against the United States. Then you have Nazis coming over to the NASA program. It's the same thing. That same storyline is being played today. Instead of on the newspapers telling you, join the army and go fight for capitalism. Go fight for American values in World War II against Hitler. Get up there and fight. The same mentality, instead of in the newspapers, is being promoted today on YouTube and through New Age communities and through mouthpieces like David Wilcock, Alex Jones, and David Icke and Russell Brand and all these other people out there who are telling you to just stay within the disempowered space of fighting this system within the system. And they sell it to you by revealing all of this other information that is very beneficial for you. It's very much a part of the story. Like I said, Alex Jones shares a lot of information that is needed to be heard. Even David Wilcock and David Icke and Russell Brand share perspectives and information that needs to be heard. But is there medicine in there? Because the goal is at the core of what they're saying. Is there medicine? Is the medicine the core, or is poison the core? Because the poison is the disempowered space. When they're telling you to fight the system, this information that's completely around all of the core, the center, you have that in there. But what is at the core? What is at the core of what they're talking about? Is it for you, or is it for another conditioned program? So they have to make you believe that there's a villain out there. Not so much to have you rally against the villain. The other 50% of that story is to have you rally for the superhero, which is what they have put themselves out there to be. David Wilcock, David Icke, Alex Jones, Alex Jones calls it globalist. Russell Brand calls it the mainstream media. He has his truths against the news. David Wilcock has this fear being alliance or the alliance against the cabal. Conspiracy theorists have, truthers against the Illuminati. Whatever it is, all of this is just a section, just a part of the bigger picture.
One of Hillary's associates writing her this as a joke.
Yeah, the Hillary and
that's
Trump
not freaking
thing
funny.
Was the same thing. Villains, superheroes.
I look at the fact that Hillary's own mentor, who she wrote her college thesis about, was Saul Alinsky, who dedicates his book to Lucifer in the 1970s.
What? No way.
I got into the Pizzagate stuff, and we did not like it. The people I was dealing with, we worked on this as a team. It was very, very upsetting.
Like it, of course. Did that need to be said?
And then look at what happens. WikiLeaks comes out with emails indicting people very close to Hillary's campaign. And if you have an open mind, it is not hard to see this is just more of the Jimmy Savile crap, but it's in America. Same crap. Very, very disturbing stuff. Then what starts to happen? The cabal decides to call everything that we talk about fake news, and through a totally undemocratic process that we cannot control, they take the distribution channels for alternative media that they themselves created, things like Google, things like Facebook, things like Apple News, things like Twitter. Half the time that people send me shit on Facebook, there's a little exclamation mark with a triangle around it that's in red. And it says, "This attachment cannot be loaded." I get those constantly because they made a decision, the cabal made a decision, we have to protect you from fake news. So we're not even going to allow you to freaking see it.
You use a curse word, David? Whoa. You're just like one of us. That's so unnatural.
Gaia was on the first list of the first 200 fake news websites. That is true. If you've had any doubts about our affiliation, check that out. Because what sources were promoted as being real news? All of the good old-fashioned Mighty Wurlitzer, as it was called, Mockingbird, which is a CIA program, controlled mainstream media.
So what happened with the fake news, real news agenda was that they burned everything down. They knew they had to burn down the mainstream media, but they didn't want to just burn the mainstream media down because they still need control over everybody, which is the thought process. So creating the instability in your mindset of fake and real news, you don't know what to believe anymore. You're in this chaos mode. You don't have any strong, you've been locked into this codependency program for so long by having the real news for generations upon generations. And then when they said fake news exists, that's when everything got burned down because you don't know anything to believe. So that is beneficial for the so-called powers that be, because now that you're floating out there in nothingness, now you will relate to what is most emotionally effective on you, so connecting to you. So you've been in this wartime destructive mentality for so long. This is one of the key hooks for the new age community. A lot of people overcompensate and just go into from one jacked up polarized perspective of fear and destruction. They go into the new age community with the idea of love and light, and then they just stay comfortable in there and adopt any information that comes through that perspective. David Wilcock is one of those mouthpieces for that whole agenda, which ties in the ancient aliens agenda, which keeps the mainstream so-called they perspective alive. You think the History Channel is separate from the mainstream media? Do you think that Ancient Aliens and Destination America and all those other network programs and all the people that are on those network programs is separate from what's coming on CNN, MSNBC, all these news, morning news, local news? You think it's separate? No. So they burn everything down and then allow you to just float out there in nothingness because you have nothing to hold on to, and then sell in the new idea of realness. The fake word coding was put out there to create that destruction of all that exists so that you can believe in whatever they tell you that is needing for you to be focused upon. And David Wilcock is one of those main people out there doing this.
And now they have literally demonetized YouTube in something that's called adpocalypse.
And then you can relate to this stuff.
If you talk about anything political at all, they will not allow you to sell ads on your YouTube channel.
And you can relate to this because you have
I had never sold ads on any of my YouTube videos.
You can relate to this because you have Facebook, you have YouTube, you've seen the filtering, you've seen all this stuff. Mostly everybody's information comes through social media and the internet. So you can relate to this stuff. That's how they're adjusting or shifting from network television to social media television. So instead of getting all of your information and mind control programs from the television, you're now getting it from the internet and social media. And the segue, the lubrication for that transition are groups and communities like the New Age community, are people like David Wilcock. Russell Brand is another one. Alex Jones is another one. TYT is another one. And meanwhile, you're just floating out in that ocean of toxicity, not knowing what the hell to believe, what the hell to think about, because you don't even know how to think anymore. That's the main point. You don't critically think. You don't know how to think because you've always been told how to think.
People like, David, you could have made $2,000 on that one. You could have made $5,000 on that one. I'm like, well, you know, I'm not willing to sell out for a penny a click. It's true. I never did it. We have Snowden come into the picture in 2013, revealing all this stuff about the NSA. I don't think it's talking out of school to tell you that that was not just Snowden that did that. There was a lot of people in the NSA that wanted him to do that worked together.
So the Julian Assange with WikiLeaks and Snowden are all part of the whole other groups of mindsets or information leaks that create this depth to the fake news and real news cavity. So, the fake news and real news cavity. And David Wilcock is using the system, the cavity, the way it's adjusted, and co-opting it by saying stuff like he said just now. It wasn't just Edward Snowden. It wasn't just Julian Assange. It was all these other people that are in the NSA and in the FBI. So, like I said in previous videos, the thing is to make you believe in the system outside of yourself, period. You have to believe in the good guys and the bad guys in the system in order to keep the system alive. That's why people like David Wilcock in the New Age community and people who are following this whole alien and extraterrestrial agenda are no different than the same mind controllers of the past. They're just the segue into the next new world, new age order agenda that is trying to so-called unify everybody, but still unify everybody, the idea of unification, underneath another control grid. In order to do that, underneath the same control grid, they have to tell you that they're not only bad guys in the FBI, the CIA, the government, and the politics, which is why he talks positively about Trump and doesn't talk about anything else, which is why he's connected to the History Channel and all that other stuff. They have to convince you that they're not only bad guys in the system, but there are good guys too, and he's one of those good guys. And everybody that's affiliated with him is also one of those good guys, like these whistleblowers who speak about Area 51 and the sphere being alliance and these alien moon bases and going and Mars and the bad aliens and the good aliens. It's all about siding, playing that duality role, selling it back to you, and then since you don't think for yourself anymore, you just believe whatever is told to you. So this is why they can't talk about flat earth. This is why they can't go into all this other stuff, because it's so locked into the next agenda. And the next agenda is heavily laced with making you believe that the system can be saved. The system in place can be saved because there's good guys in there. When the system was never, ever designed and will never be designed for the benefit of humanity. It's only designed to protect itself and the puppeteers behind the system itself. And they will play both the positive and the negative frequencies to get you, the sheep, to believe in that. To get you, the non-critical thinker, to believe in whatever the information that's being projected out to you by these individuals.
To make that happen, Snowden was their official face man for a much greater hidden initiative. He didn't just figure this thing out on his own. He had extensive support. WikiLeaks is not just Julian Assange. Anonymous actually is the US military. Remember, the DoD has made films like Iron Man 3, where the Vice President of the United States finances a bin Laden to attack American targets. Captain America, where you have Germans transferred over here after World War II that try to destroy all life on Earth while being involved in a secret society that has penetrated the intelligence services but needs the good guys in the intelligence services to fight it. This battle is real. And the biggest secret of the Cabal has always been the UFO cover-up. They don't want you to know what's really going on.
Oh.
Why don't they want you to know what's really going on? Because guess what, folks? All that stuff that you see in the Bible, all that stuff that you see in the Quran, all that stuff that you see in the Torah, all that stuff that you see in the Bhagavad Gita and in the Vedas, all that stuff that you see in Buddha's Book of Righteousness, it's true.
There's your
the
one world
that gave
religion.
us that information are real.
Locked in with the new
The battle
age,
has not stopped.
new world order.
Everybody's kind of held back. All the ETs have held back to let us become quote-unquote modern, which is kind of a joke in light of their technology.
That's another thing I wanted to talk about. I was going to do a whole separate video about this, but I'll just mention it now because I kind of just already talked about it, but I'll hint towards it and then maybe a video will come later. But a lot of people like in the new age community and even people like Joe Rogan who speak in reference to aliens and all that other stuff when they do speak about it, technology is the centerpiece, the point of focus when they're talking about the advanced civilizations. It's all about technology, but we never stop to think about the organic technology that this experience actually is. We never stop to think about the emotion being a technology, the amount of empathy or compassion that could be seen in reference to advancements or evolution in experience. We don't see these things as part of the advancement or the evolution of experiencers. Everything is always focused on technology. Alien agendas, they worship this shit. It's worship. Technology is worshipped. This is another cue to keep in mind when you're looking at how these programs and these individuals are limited to stuff like the materialistic realm and not really going into the soul. They're only using the soul as like a reference point to activate their materialistic perspectives of stuff like transhumanism and all that other stuff. No different than ancient aliens using the pyramids and ancient technologies to back up the alien perspective. It's the same thing. It's all to sell an agenda. So technology, keep that in mind for future references when you listen to other videos, how they use technology as a centerpiece or a point of focus for the idea of an advanced civilization, when we don't even know what the human organic technology is. We don't know about telekinesis, telepathy, the depths of understanding what compassion and empathy is and emotion. We don't see that as an advanced part of ourselves or our experience because it's so beat down. When you've also heard and read about certain people, like if you were to ask me, a person who can't feel or experience empathy or compassion, that's a not evolved ass individual. Like something is wrong there, like that. And that's what we're dealing with when you have so-called people in the so-called powers that be group who hoard human resources and hoard all of this information and history and live off of war and destruction. And ain't got shit to do with actual physical technology. When you're talking about the advancements of civilizations, it's more about how much you can experience, because I'm seeing that, or from a internal space, because I'm seeing that as the doorway into the other sort of ideas of advanced individuals or civilizations, when you can speak without words, telepathy, telekinesis, and all this other stuff. So anyway, I just wanted to throw that in as a little side note to pay attention to when you're listening to people like Joe Rogan, when he does talk about Bigfoot or aliens and the, technology, and David Wilcock, it's heavily ingrained in the New Age community. It's all about UFOs. That's the main thing. UFOs, and you can tie that in with the mainstream perspective at the same time. UFOs is all about technology, metallic, physical technology. Ooh, these aliens must be more evolved and advanced than us because they have a flying spaceship. What if they don't have the ability to experience compassion? What if they don't have those alien civilizations or beings that you're talking about that just is all like hypothetical, obviously, just like, oh, what if they could build all of these spaceships, but what if they can't feel anything? They have no empathy. They have no compassion. They have no heart. They only have the intelligence and use it possibly to destroy. Sound familiar? So think about all this stuff when you're looking at all these other videos out there. Especially people
we are
like
surrounded by extraterrestrials,
ancient aliens, and
both good and evil. But there are these strange rules in place, rules that are ultimately authored by a benevolent universe, rules that prevent the bad guys from being able to completely take over, rules that require them to advertise who they are and what they're doing in order for any of their initiatives to work. Do you really think they want, if they totally could do this however they wanted, do you think they want to be constantly telling us what they're up to in symbolic form, to be advertising?
Listen to this dude from like
to make books and movies and television shows that...
Listen to this dude from like a preacher, from a preacher for an alien Jesus perspective, or a preacher for an extraterrestrial blonde hair, blue eyed Jesus perspective. Like, listen to him as a preacher for the New Age church or the New World Order church. Like, see it from that perspective. If you're still like, if you happen to be an individual who is locked into the New Age frame of thought, and that's your everything, because that used to be my kind of everything. Not everything, because I never lost my sense of self and my connection to my perspectives of the indigenous, the aboriginal stories, and grounded myself. I remained grounded even when I was going through the so-called new age information stream, and then busted out of that space and then learned about how it goes. But just keep that in mind, because that's what actually kind of like triggered me to get out of that, because there's no room to think differently. There's no room to challenge any of this other stuff. It's all based upon belief, no different than mainstream religions. It's all based upon that stuff. There's nothing else. It can't be challenged. Even these channelers do the same thing. These channelers, if you say anything about flat earth, I did a video about that with Bashar. It's like, stop. How dare you, pretty much. How dare you speak of the earth as a plane of existence and not a globe? What do you mean? Calling you crazy pretty much with the tone and the authority of intellect, because they have already told you that they are 700 years. That's what Bashar is. He's channeling through Daryl Anka, telling you he's 700 years more evolved than your silly ass. So shut your damn mouth and listen to what I'm saying, because I'm 700 years more evolved than you. And if you got anything else to say other than that, you must be some kind of crazy, stupid ass person that possibly believes in flat earth. Just sit down. You're existing on low vibrations. We don't have time for that. We have to talk about unity and coming together and all that other shit. David Wilcock is just a walking version of that. Instead of like Bashar using the 700 years more advanced resume to throw in your face, David Wilcock is using the whistleblower secret space program insider resume to slap you across the face and say, if you don't believe in this stuff, then, and the only thing like this, then something's wrong with you, because I have credible witnesses and whistleblowers that speak about this on a regular basis, and this is what the real fight is. This is the real war. We have to use the opportunity, like Trump being elected, to speak about the aliens and all this other nonsense out there.
Reveal their agenda? They have to do that. That was the trick that Queen Elizabeth's court astrologer, John Dee, figured out. The magic is that you have to tell the people what you're doing, therefore they accept enslavement. And the key word that you always hear these Cabal people use is authorize. Nothing will happen to you that you haven't authorized.
So this stuff all like exists in some kind of way. But it's how it's calibrated, it's how it's coded, and how it's packaged and sold to you that really matters. Just like the mainstream media, just like Alex Jones and Russell Brand and David Icke, the information exists, but how it's packaged and sold to you is what really matters. Because they package it in a sense to where you have to eat that chocolate inside that box. If you get outside that box, then that chocolate won't be chocolate anymore. You can't eat it. It's off limits because you're thinking something else. You're acting like something else. No, you have to come into this space and don't think anywhere else in order to bask in the glory of this truth or information, all that other bullshit out there that they're trying to pigeonhole you into these agendas. So I'm going to jump forward to where he gets to this whole, I want you to actually hear these words come out of his mouth so you can feel what I felt when I heard him say this whole, because if you are still in the New Age community mindset and you are very well aware of the purpose, the meaning and the purpose of the mainstream media and politics and the colonial agenda and the Columbian era, the New Age, the New World agenda, all that stuff, if you're aware of that stuff and you are still believing in the New Age persona right now, and you hear him say the alliance backed candidate. That's a code right there. You have to keep watching the Colbert Report or the Colbert Show, Jimmy Fallon, Jimmy Kimmel. You have to keep watching and laughing at all that stuff because you keep thinking that you're informed on the deepest layers of what these people call deep. They still believe you need to be getting all your information about from Trump and all that other. This is not to say that this stuff doesn't matter, that information doesn't matter. What I'm saying is that if you're not anchored, if your roots don't go deeper than the capitalistic, so-called democratic Columbian era Western civilization program, if your roots don't go deeper than that, you're dead. You are dead already. You're in that maritime admiralty system, legal name, Columbian era slave mentality program that will never challenge this system, that will always be subjected to a reactionary program, whether you come at it from a destructive, fight the power sort of perspective or a love and light. Let's just let everything happen the way it's meant to be by whatever, and don't critically think about anything because everything is just okay. Everything is just butterflies and rainbows and gumdrops, and it's just beautiful because fairy dust is what makes everything, it makes the world go round. The fuck out of here with all that. So I'm going to jump forward to, where is this? 115. It's like right around here.
That to me. It's the majority. Okay, look. Trump may be very disappointing to most of the people in this audience. Some of you may have been glad that he won. I don't know what you think. We were hearing beforehand that Trump had decided to work with the alliance.
That is the same exact perspective that Alex Jones has. David Wilcock is Alex Jones dressed in an extraterrestrial Halloween costume. David Wilcock and the New Age community as a whole is Alex Jones dressed in an alien UFO spaceship outfit. The same intention is there, just from a different style.
We were talking about this on Cosmic Disclosure. There were videos all over the internet about this. Cosmic Disclosure was getting advertised every day on the front page of Drudge Report, which was the main website probably that was responsible for Trump winning. Drudge drops links to Alex Jones all the time. Bilderberg, Illuminati. Alex Jones has done a lot of great information. He was just another one of the guys out there talking about this when I got online in 1995. Now he's got a huge empire. But the disservice that I feel Alex Jones is doing in certain respects is that he often goes at a very fast speed and cites a whole lot of information without having the citations that he includes in his talk to back it up. So he tosses out all this stuff, and what they're trying to do...
He's basically saying he doesn't go into the alien background of it, because that's David Wilcock's everything. Everything is about Area 51, the secret space program, the extraterrestrials, the Cabal, the Illuminati. Everything is about that. He's basically kind of trying to separate himself from Alex Jones while simultaneously praising him, but separate himself in order to stay away from, not only to stay away from the downfalls of Alex Jones, but also to amplify the ideas of the positive nature of the groups that he affiliates with, like the New Age agenda, like the alien agenda, like the Sphere Being Alliance and all that other stuff. If Alex Jones were to take on the New Age perspective, the alien agenda, the Sphere Being Alliance agenda, David Wilcock would basically just like pee his pants in happiness, because that's what he believes is, that's basically what David Wilcock is.
now, what the Cabal is trying to do now is act as if all of this trutherism is just an Alex Jones fever dream. You can't take this guy seriously because he's crazy and he screams and he wears his socks on his ears and all this kind of stuff.
So that's actually happening. And the reason why he's saying that and using these, like, you know, these emotional triggers and hooks is to build himself up. That's how they sell this shit to you. They sell it to you by sucking you in with emotion instead of actually giving you like the opportunity to think for yourself, to critically think for yourself, to challenge everything, including what they're saying. You can't challenge the Sphere Being Alliance. You can't challenge anything he says. He'll just label you, just like he gets labeled fake news. He'll label you as a fake whatever or some kind of whatever it is. They'll label you. That's the same Alex Jones does the same thing when flat earthers call in to his channel. It's all about constraining the thought process and not challenging anything that is outside of their own little agenda, whether it's a conscious agenda or a subconscious agenda, whether they know about it or whether they don't.
And look, I laugh my ass off when I watch Alex Jones videos, okay? And he knows that. It's part of the game. It's funny. But I also know that if you follow through on a lot of the things that Alex Jones says, you'll discover he's telling the truth. And so, did I want the alliance-backed candidate to be this guy who has very obvious narcissistic personality disorder? No.
There you go. I'm going to pause it right there so let it sink in a little bit. Did I want the alliance-backed candidate to be a narcissistic such and such and whatever, tiny hands, orange man sort of thing? No. But
do I want to be out there politically endorsing a man who basically was the "you're fired" guy on Celebrity Apprentice? No. Okay? But you've got to look behind the obvious here. You've got to see what's going on. You've got to realize that we are in a civil war.
What's going on, David?
We've never had somebody win a presidential election and take on the media the way that Trump has done.
So he won. So he's automatically telling you he believes in the presidential election process. He doesn't shit. It's so like exhausting to go through this shit to like go through this stuff, but it needs to be done. So this is how you can see what these individuals actually believe in and what they're actually selling you and making you believe in too.
It's never happened before.
Yay! It's never happened before. You hear that? Clapping and all. Everybody that's clapping out there, they've turned that energy that existed in their brain that was, triggered from their heartstrings from the words that came out of David Wilcock's mouth and his passion for what he believes in. And they turned that into a cult-like applause. Oh, yes. Thank you for saying that. We really do believe Trump is the candidate that was right for America because Hillary was clearly part of the globalist agenda and Trump was an anomaly in the system, and the people actually came together to back the alliance-backed candidate.
Why did they try to shove Hillary through to become the presidential candidate when Bernie Sanders literally had a much better chance of defeating Trump? What the hell was that about? All we had to do is look at Watergate. All the frickin' guy Nixon did is he wiretapped his enemy's phone. Hillary had like 25 Watergates.
All right. Garbage,
and they kept coming out. And just, nope, we're going to shove her right through.
Garbage truck in the background says this video is done. It's done. This trash is over with. because you can actually see how this story is playing out, how they sell this shit to you. Here's the good guy, here's the bad guy, and I am on the good guy team, and you have to be on the good guy team. And by being on the good guy team, read this fine print and believe in this storyline and everything else that's attached to it. It's just like signing up for a credit card. The interest rate will kill you later on down the line. Thank you, garbage truck, for making me end this damn video at the perfect timing, because I'm tired of listening to his sorry ass walk around talking bullshit throughout this entire video. But basically that's it. They create this villain and inherently create the superhero, and you're bought into whatever it is that you're comfortable with. If you only have time to watch Russell Brand's video, then because you got to go to work, then you think you're informed. If you only have time to watch Alex Jones or TYT or David Icke or David Wilcock or the New Age community, whatever it is, that's what you're going to do. You're never going to actually think, though, because they're thinking for you. This is what social media does. This is what the new style of mind control programming is doing. So that's basically what I wanted to share with this video. Thank you for joining me. And until next time, from all my relations, peace, love, and harmony.